and welcome to today's hearings. I'd like to call to order the Public Improvement Commission hearings of May 11, 2023. First order of business, Mr. Liming, could you do a roll call for me, please?
Certainly. Would the representative from the Public Works Department please state his or her name for the record?
Thank you. Parag Jayasinghe.
Property Management Department? Transportation Department?
Amy Cordy.
Inspectional Services Department?
Brian Moner.
Water and Sewer Commission?
Denise Devlin.
And Disabilities Commission?
Sarah Van.
Full attendance. All set, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. First order of business, hearing minutes. At the request of the Public Improvement Commission staff, the acceptance of minutes of PIC hearings held on April 27th of 2023. Like to hear a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of April 27, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone abstaining? Hearing none, motion passes. Moving on to the public hearing segment of our agenda, item number 1. On a petition by City of Boston Public Works Department for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in Roxbury, consisting of curb realignment, roadway, sidewalk, and driveway curb cut reconstruction, as well as new and relocated pedestrian ramps, street lighting infrastructure, storm drain infrastructure, street trees, landscaping, and green stormwater infrastructure. Calumet Street at Pico Street at Darling Street, Pico Street at Calumet Street and Darling Street at Calumet Street at Pico Street. This was brought under new business on April 27th of this year as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Specific Repair Plans Calumet Street at Pico Street and Darling Street, Roxbury. 15 sheets dated February 9th of 2023. Good morning. Who do we have today?
Hey, can everyone hear me?
Yes, Jeffrey, we can.
All right. Good morning, Parag. Good morning, Chairman and members of the Commission. My name is Jeffrey Alexis with Public Works Engineering, petitioning for the specific repairs at the intersection of Calumet Street, Picoy Street, and Darling Street. I'm joined here by a design consultant from GPI. Before I turn it over to Mike, I'd like to provide a bit of background information on this project. As far back as of 2015 and as recent as October of last year, we received numerous constituent complaints regarding the safety concerns at this intersection. Residents expressed that this area is heavily trafficked by pedestrians and that the crossings are inadequate. Currently, not only does this intersection lack accessible ramps, but the crossing distances are very long due to the existing geometry and the sea of pavement that unfortunately allow speeding opportunities for drivers. Residents also expressed that drivers regularly ignore the existing traffic signs that are posted. Given the concerns that the residents have raised, the recent crash history, and the senior housing abutting this intersection, we want to propose these project improvements to address the concerns of the neighborhood, as well as the needs of the most vulnerable users who abut this intersection. With these improvements, we will not only improve accessibility and pedestrian safety at this intersection, but we hope to implement additional design elements like new lighting to improve visibility and green infrastructure to address potential heat island issues we tend to see in intersections like this one. With that, I'll turn it over to Mike to introduce himself and to go over the details. Mike.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Thanks, Jeff. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Mike Doobie with GPI, and I'll be presenting the specific repairs for the intersection of Calumet Street, Pequot Street, Darling Street, and Roxbury. I'll share my screen now. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So this project, as Jeff mentioned, proposes to improve pedestrian safety at this intersection by providing curb bump outs that minimize the pedestrian crossing distances and minimize the existing pavement footprint. Within these curb bump outs, we have additional space for new sidewalks that we're proposing, new pedestrian ramps, green infrastructure with low ground cover and new plantings, and underground lighting infrastructure. These improvements provide a more defined intersection type that promotes safety at the intersection and accessibility for pedestrians. I'll open it up to any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Dubey. Any questions by fellow commission members? Hearing none, any questions or comments by PIC staff?
I'm all set. I will take this opportunity to remind the public, if you wish to ask questions or add testimony, please use the raise hand function, which is found at the bottom of your screen. And I'll give everyone a moment to find that if needed.
Thank you, Todd. Want to make sure that whether I see a hand up. So Todd, if you could help us with moderating those who have.
Certainly, yeah, I
Thank
can
you for being
moderate that. Adam, you were first. Why don't you go ahead?
Thank you very much, Commissioner, and I was trying to wait till it was the public's turn. So I wanted to address, so I'm speaking on behalf of Mission Hill Neighborhood Housing Services, which is at 40 Calumet Street, the extreme low income property that you referenced in the presentation there. We've sent a couple emails to you, Jeffrey, and only recently had reached out to even hear about this project. So we're respectfully requesting a deferral from any votes so we can have a community input, understand how this affects us, and can properly address any concerns with the Public Works Department. Jeffrey, we did try to email you yesterday, did not get a response back yet. And then outside of the Neighborhood Housing Services board hat, as a Mission Hill resident, I want to go back to your presentation, Jeffrey, that you mentioned that there's been a lot of constituent complaints of this intersection. My overall concern is the follow-up of I understand the intent of this design, but I'm curious on what the cities and various departments' commitments are to long-term maintenance and repair. We have another similar example of an intersection like this at the other end of Calumet Street, which was built, double sidewalks, landscape in the middle, which I have addressed on numerous occasions since 2017, I think 17, maybe 19, the sidewalks were not getting shoveled because nobody knew whose responsibility it was. I would like to take this, Parks took this on as they won't commit to it, but they're doing it as their favor, but there's no writing of who's responsible for it. So I really would like the commission to, as we go through this, address and make sure everyone, what the follow-up and who's really committed to each piece of this once this is discussed and presented again. So with that, again, we really appreciate a deferral so we can have a community process with the Public Works Department. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Alison, I believe you are next.
Yes, hi, hello everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I did become aware of these plans only recently and reached out to the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services to ask for more details. Green infrastructure is wonderful, but my concern would be who is responsible for maintenance and management. And just learned recently with the Audubon Circle green corners right there at Park Drive and Beacon that the neighborhood association has to spend $15,000 a year to keep up those plants. So that is a big concern for me. I am curious, though, whether this will continue to be a four-way stop and how that works with the sharp corners now for the turning vehicles, and exactly where, if any, will there be crosswalks painted? Thank you.
Thank you, Alison. Let me take your questions one at a time to the best of my knowledge. So the first question you had, Alison, was who is going to maintain the green infrastructure? I believe I can speak on behalf of the administration and the new team person that's managing this green infrastructure, Ms. Kate England. The city, I believe, is going to maintain the green infrastructure. So unlike with episodes in the past, Alison, we both know we've tried to do much. We had to rely or lean on the communities to help us, but now the city has an active program to do the maintenance also, to do maintenance of green infrastructure. So that's good news. The second question is whether this is continuing to be a four-way stop sign. I believe it is, but I will always seek my design engineers to verify that. And you can also show the crosswalk design because I remember seeing that. Michael, could you respond to those two questions?
Yes. Yes, I can. So the design does propose to maintain the four-way stop. If you give me 1 second, I can pull up the striping to show the crosswalk locations. In general, the crosswalks will align with each of these new pedestrian ramps, which are labeled R1, R2, R3, R4. Within this set, we just do not have the striping. So let me try and pull that up for you. So this is the intersection with the crosswalks shown.
Thank you very much, Para. I do want to say that there has been no public meeting with the abutters or neighborhood organizations to review these plans. So if possible, I would ask Public Works to defer the vote. And also, Para, if you could clarify what city department will be responsible for the planting maintenance? Is that Public Works or would that be Parks?
So it's definitely not Parks, Allison. We have a new entity within the Streets Cabinet. So within, Yasha Franklin Hodges, who is our Chief of Streets, it is embedded within the Streets Cabinet, a program that is looking to the deployment of green infrastructure, both from the design and maintenance. So I am confident to say, Alison, that it is in very good hands. It is just not, sound bites. This stuff is actually happening. And I hear your concern for a more robust public engagement, loud and clear. So at this point, John Coppola. John, if you could unmute yourself and share your thoughts.
Good morning, all. I'm John Coppola. I am a direct abutter on 3 of the 4 corners of the intersection. I've owned these properties for at least 20 years. I have been on site at my properties multiple days a week, if not every day of the week, and I'm aware and agree that this intersection needs some attention. I was kind of surprised as a direct abutter that I never received any information on these plans until a neighbor brought it up to me yesterday. Was the first I've seen, and I would like to request a deferral on a decision on this until we could spend a little bit of time on the plans. I'm not in disagreement with them as a whole, but I would like to be able to have more than a few hours notice to be able to look at them and digest the work that is proposed. I've seen some of this work by the city done very successfully, and I've seen other parts where they truly provide a danger to pedestrians, create issues with snow plowing and snow removal, and have long-time maintenance issues that the property owners, abutting property owners, have to take the place and do the upkeep on. So that's, I guess I appreciate a deferral if possible.
Thank you, John. So here are my thoughts. First of all, Adam, Alison, John, I truly appreciate you joining us this morning, taking time from your schedule. We sort of anticipated this scenario, and I will take responsibility for the degree of outreach. It is not due to a lack of effort on our part, but it is the results that we all should be focusing on. So here's what I recommend if it is to be agreed by all the fellow commission members. So we would like to host a Zoom meeting, okay? And with your agreement and yours meaning, so that would be, Adam, John, and Allison, like to schedule this thing for May 23rd, and that would be a Tuesday, May 23rd. I would prefer if we could do it a little bit sooner, but staff availability is making things a little bit challenging. So Tuesday, May 23rd, 6 p.m. We want to have a more engaged conversation per your request. It'll be a Zoom online meeting as this public hearing. And what I would like you to do is to send us your email address. I'm going to give you 2 email addresses. One is a very short and precise email address. It is PIC for Public Improvement Commission. P for Peter, I for ice cream, C for Charlie, at boston.gov. Okay. I will also give you my staff person Jeffrey Alexis email, but I think PIC at boston.gov should be very precise. Now, if you could be ever so kind and send us an email to that email address, this way Jeffrey can email you directly with the Zoom link for Tuesday, May 23rd at 6 p.m. Okay? With the full intention of hearing your concerns, explaining this design in more detail, which will allow us to have that conversation, which will require us postponing the public hearing until the next proper hearing, because we have a hearing on the 25th, which is just 2 days after our Zoom meeting. I would prefer to postpone this for 5 weeks, which is the following subsequent PIC hearing of June 25th. Does that arrangement work for those who've taken time from your schedules? And John, I will ask you first, and I'll go reverse order. Does that work for you, John?
Sorry to cut in, but part of the next hearing would be June 15th, not the 25th.
Yes. Yeah. That way, sorry, did I mess up? June 15th, one pass. So John, does that work for you?
That does, and I do appreciate the opportunity to be able to look at these plans and work with the city for a positive improvement to this intersection.
Thank you, John. And when we share the Zoom link with you, after you send us your email address, please feel free to share with your abutters or your neighbors. So next is Allison. Allison, does that work for you?
Yes, thank you, and I will share it with others. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. I truly appreciate everything that you do in our neighborhoods. And Adam, Mr. Sabor, does that work for you, sir?
Yes, I appreciate you hearing us and postponing that or deferring it so that can happen. We will also, in the meantime, and I can work with Allison and John with that to try to address some of the topics for that meeting, so it's just not a blind meeting for you guys too. We can kind of give you some of the topics or concerns or comments that have come out so we can make it a productive Zoom. So thank you very much for that.
So I'm going to ask you a tiny bit of a favor. This meeting which we are proposing for June, sorry, I need to get my dates correct, May 23rd, as much as there may be many things which you all may want to discuss with the city in the interest of staff allocation and staff's resources, I would very much appreciate if the focus of the meeting can be towards this public hearing, okay? And we will make sure that there's a representative from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services that is there at that meeting who can follow on your broader issues. If that is okay with you, I just want to make sure that we can keep moving forward with this task, because I think, as someone said, it is in need of attention, and we as you are eager to implement that series of steps that are needed to give it the attention, okay? So that all being said, I'd like to hear a motion to continue this public hearing for 5 weeks to June 15th.
I'll make a motion to continue public hearing item number 1 till June 15th. Is that right?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstained? Hearing none, motion passes. Again, my appreciation to Adam, John, and Alison for joining us today. Moving on to public hearing number 2 on a petition by City of Boston Public Works Department for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in West Roxbury, consisting of curb realignment, roadway and sidewalk reconstruction, as well as new and relocated pedestrian ramps, street lighting infrastructure, street trees, storm drain infrastructure, landscaping, green storm water infrastructure, and raised crosswalks. More specifically at Walk Hill Street at Wenham Street, Wenham Street at Walk Hill Street. This was brought under new business on April 27th of this year, as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Specific Repair Plan, Walk Hill Street at Wenham Street, Jamaica Plain, 12 sheets dated April 20th of 2023. Petitioner?
Yes, thank you, Power. Once again, good morning, Chairman and members of the Commission. My name is Jeffrey Alexis with Public Works Engineering, petitioning for the specific repairs at the intersection of Walk Hill Street and Wenham Street. Once again, I'm joined here by design consultants from GPI. But before turning it over to Mike, provide a little bit of background information on this project. This intersection is another location that was brought to our attention by our residents. Between August of 2017 and October of 2020, there were 12 crashes that resulted in property damage and or personal injury, a majority in which the drivers actually left the scene. To improve safety for all modes of transportation at this intersection, we're proposing these geometry changes to slow down drivers and create safe crossings. With that, I'll turn it over to Mike to go over the details.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Thank you, Jeff, and good morning, Commissioners. My name is Mike Doobie with GPI, and I'll be presenting the specific repairs at Walk Hill Street and Wenham Street in West Roxbury. I'll share my screen now. Perfect. So this project, as Jeff mentioned, proposes to improve pedestrian safety and safety overall at the intersection by minimizing the crossing distances at the intersection through proposed curb bump outs on either side of the intersection that minimize also the total pavement width. This design also proposes new cement concrete pedestrian ramps, new cement concrete sidewalks, and raised crossings for traffic calming and pedestrian safety. The additional space within the proposed curb bump outs are proposed to be used with green infrastructure, which have plantings and low ground cover, and we're also proposing new lighting infrastructure to align with the new curb lines. Overall, these improvements will provide a safer intersection or a safer design at the intersection. I'll open up for any questions or comments.
Thank you, Michael. Any questions by fellow commission members? Hearing none. Any concerns or comments by PSC staff?
No issues here. I'll give the public a minute in case anyone wants to weigh in.
Thank you, Mr. Liming. Any comments by members of today's audience? And again, as Mr. Liming mentioned, you can use the raise hand feature. Seeing or hearing none, I'd like to hear a motion regarding public hearing number 2.
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by the City of Boston Public Works Department for the making of specific repairs in Walk Hill Street and Wenham Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstained? Hearing none, motion passes. Public hearing number 3 on a petition by the City of Boston Public Works Department for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in West Roxbury, consisting of curb realignment, roadway, sidewalk, and driveway curb cut reconstruction, as well as new and relocated pedestrian ramps, street lighting infrastructure, storm drain infrastructure, street trees, landscaping, green stormwater infrastructure and raised crosswalks. Well Street at Maple Street at Pomfret Street, Maple Street at Well Street at Pomfret Street, Pomfret Street at Well Street at Maple Street. This was brought under new business on April 27th of this year, as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Specific Repairs Plan, Well Street at Maple Street, West Roxbury, 19 sheets dated February 9th of 2023. Jeffrey?
Yes, thank you, Power. Once again, good morning, everyone. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Jeffrey Lexis, Public Works Engineering, petitioning for the specific repairs at the intersection of Wells Street at Maple Street and Pomfret Street. Also joined by our design consultant from GPI, provide a little bit more background information on this project. This project, as I mentioned, is another location that was brought to our attention by our residents. We received complaints of speeding, crash reports that resulted in personal injury, crashes that caused property damage in excess of $60,000. Residents have expressed pedestrian safety concerns about this five-legged intersection where the pedestrian ramps aren't compliant to today's standards. The crossing distances are long, and there's a sea of pavement that can allow for speeding opportunities at this intersection. We have received requests for stop signs at this intersection. However, after further review, we determined that geometry changes were needed to improve safety for all modes of transportation. With that, I'll turn it over to Mike to go into the details. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff, and good morning, commissioners. My name is Mike Doobie with GPI, and I'll be presenting specific repairs for the intersection of Wells Street, Maple Street, and Pomfret Street in West Roxbury. The project proposes to improve pedestrian safety by minimizing crossing distances through curb bump outs and proposing new cement concrete pedestrian ramps that are accessible, new pedestrian sidewalks, and raised crossings for pedestrian safety and traffic calming. The bump outs expand inside.
Mike, can you share your screen?
Oh, sorry about that. Yep. You see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Sorry about that. So as I was kind of saying, the bump outs minimize the sea of pavement out there and provide area for green infrastructure with plantings and low ground cover. We're also proposing new underground lighting infrastructure to align with the new curb lines and proposed bump outs. Overall, these improvements provide a more defined intersection that improves safety at the intersection. I'll open it up to any questions or comments.
Thank you, Michael. Any comments or questions by fellow commission members? Hearing none, any comments or questions by PSC staff?
All set.
Any comments by members of today's audience? Seeing none, Jeffrey and your team, I applaud you all for doing these type of improvements so that the livability of our neighborhoods are improving, and I commend you all for this type of work. That being said, I'd like to get a motion regarding public hearing number 3.
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by the City of Boston Public Works Department for the making of specific repairs in Wells Street, Maple Street, and Pomfret Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? Hearing none, motion passes. Public hearing number 4 on a petition by IBA Real Estate Support Corp for the acceptance of a pedestrian easement adjacent to West Newton Street, which is a public way, Boston proper, located on its northeasterly side at address number 85, generally southeast of Clemont Street. This was brought under new business on April 27th of this year, as shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Pedestrian Easement Plan 85 West Newton Street Public Way South End, one sheet dated April of 2023. Good morning. If the petitioner can identify and introduce yourself.
Yes, good morning, members of the Public Improvement Commission. Thank you again for giving us this opportunity and Great to see you again. My name is Vanessa Calderon Rosado. I am Chief Executive Officer of IVA, Inquilinos Únicos en Acción, who is the owner of the property and the proposed project that we're presenting to you today. Just as a quick update and refresher, IVA is a nationally recognized community development corporation. We own 667 units of affordable housing, primarily in the South End in the Villa Victoria community, which is completely adjacent to this building, and where the proposed programs and services that will be housed in this building that we call the CASA, Center for Arts, Self-Determination and Activism, will directly benefit the low-income families that live in our properties, as well as benefit the larger South End neighborhood and City of Boston by providing affordable art space for artists, as well as community gathering spaces. So here today, we have to present to you Chelsea Christensen from Niche Engineering and Michael Schambacher from Studio NA, who is one of the architects in the design team for this project. So let me turn it over to them for the presentation, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Good morning, Chelsea Christensen from Niche Engineering on behalf of IBA Real Estate Support Group. The pedestrian easement we are requesting is associated with sidewalk improvements along 85 West Newton Street, as shown here. Our site is located on this currently vacant lot between Tremont Street and Shawmut Avenue along West Newton Street. The pedestrian easement itself is a little less than 4 feet wide along the length of the proposed building. We have since added a section showing where the easement line lands relative to the property line and the proposed building. So there is an overhang within the easement, but not over the property line.
Any questions for Ms. Christensen or Chelsea by fellow commission members? Hearing none, any comments or questions by PSC staff?
All set. Thank you for adding that detail to the plan, Chelsea.
Any comments by members of today's audience? Seeing or hearing none, I'd like to hear a motion regarding public hearing number 4.
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by IBA Real Estate Support Corp. for the acceptance of a pedestrian easement on West Newton Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? Hearing none, motion passes. Public hearing number 5 on a petition by IBA Real Estate Support Corp. for the making of specific repairs within West Newton Street, a public way, Boston proper, located on its northeasterly side at address number 85, generally southeast of Tremont Street, consisting of sidewalk reconstruction, as well as new and relocated specialty pavement, street lighting infrastructure, street tree pits, and bike racks. This is brought under new business on April 27th of this year, as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division, Specific Repair Plans 85 West Newton Street, Public Way South, in 2 sheets dated April of 2023.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. This is Vanessa Calderon again on behalf of EVA. I will turn it over to Chelsea.
Thank you, Vanessa. Chelsea Christensen, Niche Engineering on behalf of EVA Real Estate Support Corp. Our proposed specific repairs include reconstruction of the existing brick sidewalk using city standard brick material, a porous brick strip along the westernmost frontage zone, including new bike racks. Since the new business meeting, we have angled the bike racks to allow more space for green infrastructure. So the current plan proposes these areas between the tree pits along the east side would be planted green infrastructure, and we'll continue to work with Kate and England on what exactly that material will be. I should have mentioned earlier, this is O'Day Playground over here, and so we thought the best place for the greenery would be closer to that area of the playground. Existing trees and existing streetlights will remain, and here you can see the pedestrian easement that was discussed in the previous action.
Thank you, Chelsea. Any questions for Ms. Christensen by fellow commission members? Hearing none. Chelsea, where are we on the maintenance agreement?
It's been drafted. Vanessa, do you know if it's been finalized or sent over to Chong yet?
I don't know if it's been finalized, but I know it's been drafted, so it's in review process. It should be.
Fine Horning has been coordinating with Chong, so
Correct.
I believe they should have it.
Yeah, Chelsea, if you could help Vanessa, because we can't record this irrespective of the hearing decision until the agreement gets executed, so we just don't want to hold you folks up, and I keep forgetting to make that point. So, okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Chelsea. Any comments by PSC staff?
No, all set.
Any comments by members of today's audience? Hearing none, I'd like to hear a motion regarding public hearing number 5.
Make a motion to approve a petition by IBA Real Estate Support Corp. for the making of specific repairs within West Newton Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Public hearing number 6 on a petition by 80 West Broadway Operator LLC for the vertical discontinuance of portions of the following public ways in South Boston, vertically above the grades of the sidewalks. West Broadway on its northeasterly side at address number 80, generally southeast of A Street. A Street on its southeasterly side, generally northeast of West Broadway. This was brought under new business on April 27th of this year, as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Vertical Discontinuance Plan, West Broadway, A Street, 80 to 110 West Broadway, South Boston, 2 sheets, dated January 20th of 2023. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having us. I'm Elizabeth King, the project architect with Stantec, and I'm also joined by Shorenstein, our client group, and Copley Wolf, our landscape architect, and Niche Engineering, our civil engineers. So we want to give just a brief introduction to the project. I know we met with you guys 2 weeks ago, but we'll give an introduction to those who were at that last meeting. West Broadway is a 5-story office building, and we are also keeping the existing facade of the Amrines building on the west and the south side. We also have activation on the ground floor with some mixed use. So we are hoping that we retain the Amrines restaurant in the southwest side of the building. And then we also have a proposed tenant that will go in the center of the building as well on the ground floor. We have a small parking garage, about 23 spaces on the southeast side of the building. And we're about 87,000 square feet of gross floor area as a mixed-use office building to revitalize this neighborhood. We're doing some significant repairs to the pedestrian and the public realm streetscape as well. John, if you want to go to the next slide. Thank you. So we're also providing an 800 square foot community space on the ground floor, and we're also targeting LEED Gold as well for this project. One of the big drivers with our client team is really striving for thinking about that embodied carbon and carbon analysis for the building, and we're going with a full mass timber structure. So that's something that the client is passionate about, and we as a team are really excited about for the city of Boston. Go ahead, John. I'm going to hand it over to the next slide, which our Copley Wilfer landscape architect is going to walk through the site materials.
Elizabeth, sorry, if you could ask your team to just focus on the vertical discontinuance part,
Sure.
and then we can pick up the rest of the stuff, because there
Okay.
are multiple hearings associated with your project.
Good morning, John Schmidt with Niche Engineering. I'll speak to the vertical discontinuances. There are, the vertical discontinuances are required in order to provide space for the existing facades that are being retained and reconstructed, but retained for this construction, as you saw in the initial visual here. So these are the existing projections over the public way, and they are being maintained for the redevelopment of this parcel. The facades are greater than 30 feet above grade. Essentially, that's the gist of it. The appraisal is underway and it's being reviewed and should be completed shortly.
Thank you, John. If the team recognizes the fact that we need to sort of finalize that appraisal before we can file these with the registry, so independent of how the hearing goes, hopefully you can convey to the client that we need to sort that thing out before we can take final action recording this stuff. John, that's understood, right?
Yes, I believe, yes. There's been numerous emails this morning, and we understand that the project cannot proceed further until the appraisal has been worked out between both parties.
Awesome, thank you. Any questions or comments by fellow commission members regarding the discontinuance portion of this hearing? Hearing none. Any comments by PSC staff?
No, all set, thanks.
Any comments by members of today's audience? Seeing or hearing none, I'd like to hear a motion regarding public hearing number 6.
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by 80 West Broadway Operator LLC for the vertical discontinuance and portions of West Broadway and A Street as read to the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? Hearing none, motion passes. Moving on to public hearing number 7 on a petition by 80 West Broadway Operator LLC for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in South Boston, consisting of curb realignment, roadway and sidewalk reconstruction, as well as new and relocated pedestrian ramps, specialty pavement, street lighting infrastructure, street trees, landscaping, irrigation infrastructure, green stormwater infrastructure, storm drain infrastructure, bike racks, driveway curb cuts, and protected bike facilities. All of these on West Broadway at address number 80, generally southeast of A Street generally northeast of West Broadway. This was brought under new business on April 27th of this year, as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Specific Repairs Plan A Street, West Broadway, 80 West Broadway, South Boston, 4 sheets dated May 4th of 2023. Petitioner?
John Schmidt with Niche Engineering. I think this is the opportunity for the landscape architect to speak to the improvements proposed within the public ways.
Thank you, John.
Perhaps he's not here. Did we lose somebody?
I think he's just signing on now, actually. Andrew Arbach, correct? Just give
Correct. Yep.
Correct.
Welcome, Andrew. You're up.
I think he might be having audio problems, so I think we can speak to this for Andrew.
Sorry, dropped
there
out
he is.
at the least opportune moment ever.
No, Andrew, you're good. You're good.
Thank you so much. The landscape and streetscape plan, as shown, includes raised cycle track along West Broadway, permeable paver street with a zone raised permeable paper strip at back of the raised bike rack. 2 bioinfiltration planters, including 2 trees in the first one and 2 trees in pits, also in the streetscape itself, and a 15-dock blue bike station. The paving is brushed concrete at the back of the paving strip along West Broadway. That continues around the corner on A Street as well.
Thank you, Andrew.
I'll dig into the weeds a little bit with the design. Along A Street, we are maintaining a 7.5-foot wide concrete sidewalk as part of, and again, the sidewalk can't get any wider because of the existing building facade that's being received. There was a conversation at the hearing, at the new business hearing, about the providing accessible ramp on the opposite intersection here. And it's our understanding that this receiving ramp is under reconstruction by the developer of this parcel, which is 79 to 89 West Broadway. And I also understand that they may have gotten a variance to keep the ramp as an apex. So this intersection over here is being addressed by the developer across the street. There was also conversations about the existing catch basin being within the ramp here. So it was that catch basin has been converted into a drain manhole, and then the catch basin is being proposed at the apex of the intersection, which is the low point. Denise, there is no dump plaque indicated on this plan, but there will be when MyLars are submitted. So if there's any questions, so I'll move on to the next street, and you can interrupt me at any time. Along West Broadway, we have a 10.5-foot wide concrete sidewalk, a 4.5-foot wide furnishing zone consisting of pavers and 2 bioretention areas, bike racks, street lights, street trees, and as well as the elevated bike lane through here. And as we go to the next sheet, actually that's it. There's 2 streets on this project. So.
Thank you, John.
Yep.
A question for your team, the status of the maintenance agreement. Again, Elizabeth, can someone chime in on that front?
Yeah, so I know that our team, our legal team, Jared Agerman and Shorenstein team have been talking with Chong about the drafted LMI language. So there is a draft of the LMI language.
So, Ms. King, again, to expedite recording of the hearings, we would appreciate you sorting that thing out and closing it out. Okay?
Sure.
Thank you. Any comments by fellow commission members?
Yes, can I ask when the variance for the Apex reciprocal ramp was granted?
I don't know the details on that. I just understand that the receiving intersection, this is what I heard through the project team, and if someone else can speak in greater detail, please do. But I understand that the 79 to 89 project it's gotten a variance for this work. Elizabeth, can anyone else speak to more on this?
Yeah, I don't actually know the date, Sarah, but we're happy to send you the executed TAPA for that side of the project. We did receive a copy of that in sort of coordination about this reciprocating ramp.
Hey Sarah, this is Brian Bizel from Howard Steinutz, and I am looking through my emails to see if I can find the date for you. But basically, there's a mast arm and a telephone call box, the fire department security on the other corner. So when that project went through this PIC process, that's why the waiver was granted.
Okay. If I could just get a copy of that variance for our records, I think our concern is that that variance was granted in the state that your development, that side of the street, was also an apex ramp. So we just want to make sure that the circumstances are changing because the ramp is being split, that variance is still valid.
I'll see what I can find. If I don't find it by the end of this hearing, I'll email it to you.
Great, thank you.
Sarah, I don't want to talk out of turn, but I see a possibility that the prior variance, as you noted, was granted because of the apex on this side, and now we have an activity on this side which may make that variance null and void. And Elizabeth, if that is the case, are you agreeable for making the necessary? I'm not sure. Sarah, how would you carry that thing out? Would you be asking these team members to redo the reciprocating ramp on the south side?
I would have to see the variance and under what circumstances it was granted, because there are many reasons why the AB may have granted. But we would ask the team to sketch out what it would take to split that ramp if we found that there might be some wiggle room because of the proponent's project splitting this ramp.
So Elizabeth, do I have some level of assurance that you all will do what needs to be done to manage the situation so that we don't need to delay this hearing?
Sure, yes, we will work with the project team. That it is an active project, so we can work with that project team and
Awesome.
Brian Bizel from Howard Stein Hudson.
Again, I think the variance was less to do with what's on the 80 West Broadway side and more to do with the infrastructure that's in place on the 79 West Broadway side.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I want to know. So if you find that paperwork, please send it our way. Thank you.
Sure, yeah, we can send it your way. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Any further questions for the petitioners? Hearing none, comments by PSC staff?
All set.
Thank you, Todd. Any comments by members of today's audience? Seeing or hearing none, I'd like to hear a motion regarding public hearing number 7.
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by 80 West Broadway Operator LLC for the making of specific repairs within West Broadway and A Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? Hearing none, motion passes. Public hearing number 8 on a petition by 80 West Broadway Operator LLC for the granting of a projection license for the installation of 2 canopies over portions of the sidewalk within West Broadway, a public way, South Boston, located on its northeasterly side at address number 80, generally southeast of A Street. This was brought under new business on April 27th of this year, as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Canopy Plan 80 West Broadway, South Boston, 2 sheets dated April 20th of 2023.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Schmidt with Niche Engineering. So as Power read, here are 2 proposed canopy projections. They are 10.5 feet above grade. Yeah, they're greater than 10 feet above grade. They are internally drained and heat traced, and they project 3 feet into the public way, which is less than 2/3 of the existing sidewalk width of about 14.5 feet.
Thank you, John. Any questions for Mr. Schmidt by fellow commission members? Hearing none, any comments by PSC staff?
Set.
Any comments by members of today's audience? Seeing or hearing none, I'd like to hear a motion regarding public hearing number 8.
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by 80 West Broadway Operator LLC for the granting of a projection license in West Broadway as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? Hearing none, motion passes. Public hearing number 9 on a petition by 80 West Broadway Operator LLC for the granting of an earth retention license for the installation of a temporary earth support system within West Broadway, a public way, South Boston, located on its northeasterly side at address number 80, generally southeast of A Street. This was brought under new business on April 27th of this year, as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Temporary Earth Retention, 80 West Broadway, South Boston, 3 sheets dated January 27th of 2023. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Schmidt with Niche Engineering. This is the final petition before you for this parcel. And as Power read, it's for temporary earth support consisting of soldier pile and lagging along West Broadway. Soldier pile and lagging will be placed approximately 3 feet into the public way, and it will be cut to be 6 feet below the sidewalk elevation upon completion of the project. Any questions?
Thank you, John. I believe at the new business hearing, the height which your piles are supposed to be cut was not noted on the plans, and I hope it is being. If it is not, please amend the plans.
Yes, it is noted on note 3.
Brilliant. Thank you, John. Any comments or questions by fellow commission members to Mr. Schmidt? Hearing none, any comments by PSC staff?
All set.
Any comments by members of today's audience? Seeing or hearing none, I'd like to hear a motion regarding public hearing number 9.
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by 80 West Broadway Operator LLC for the granting of an earth retention license in West Broadway as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to the last public hearing number 10, on a petition by SCD 380 Stewart LLC for the granting of an earth retention license for the installation of 2 temporary crane pads within Stewart Street, a public way in Boston proper, located on its southeasterly at address number 380, generally southwest of Berkeley Street. This was brought under new business on April 27th of this year, as shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Temporary Earth Retention and Crane Foundation Plan, 380 Stewart Street, Boston, one sheet dated April 26th of 2023. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. John Schmidt here with Niche Engineering. With me is Cassandra Silva from Skanska. This is the location of 380 Stewart Street. You may recognize this. It was before the Commission last fall for specific repairs and some other improvements, as well as back in 2017 for supportive excavation. What we're here before you today has to do with the construction process of building this multi-level office building. There is a proposed 2 mats. One is a crane mat, which is 20 by 20, about 6 feet deep on micro piles. And the second is a man hoist mat, which is about 8.5 feet by 8.5 feet by 2 feet deep. And it's a slab on grade. There was some conversation at New Business regarding that Sarah had raised about the access to, accessible parking during the construction process. And I believe the CMP was shared with the team after that meeting, and I understand the client has been working with Sarah, confirming that her needs are met. Any questions?
Thank you, John. Any questions by fellow commission members to the petitioner?
Thank you, John. I'm happy to work with you after this hearing to kind of tie up all the loose ends.
Thank you, Sarah. Any further comments to the petitioners by fellow commission members? Hearing none. Comments by PSC staff?
All set.
Any comments by members of today's audience? Seeing or hearing none, I'd like to hear a motion regarding public hearing number 10.
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by SCD 380 Stewart LLC for the granting of an earth retention license in Stewart Street as read in the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. That concludes the public hearing segment of our agenda today. Now moving on to the new business portion of today's agenda. New business item number 1, 720 William T. Morrissey Boulevard, Freeport Street, Victory Road, Dorchester, specific repairs on a petition by the Herb Chambers Companies. Good morning. If the petitioner can introduce him or herself and present your petition.
Yes, thank you, Chair, members of the Commission. My name is Tyler King. I work for CHA Consulting. We're the civil engineer on the project, presenting on behalf of the Herb Chambers Companies. I'll share my screen here and just run through our presentation. So to just run through the general project location, we are located in the Dorchester neighborhood of Boston. The site's bounded by Victory Road and an Express White Toyota to the north. To the east, we have Freeport Street, Mass Salt Sheds, DOT Salt Sheds, and I-93 to the east. To the south, we have 7-Eleven and an ongoing construction project for apartment buildings. And then to the west, we have Morrissey Boulevard and CVS and a recently constructed tile warehouse. Used to be the old lumber liquidator. Zooming in on the site, we're proposing specific repairs to Freeport Street sidewalks and the Victory Road sidewalk in association with a proposed Honda dealership that's going at 720 Morrissey Boulevard. As you can see here on this slide, this is the existing Freeport Street sidewalk. It is a 5-foot asphalt sidewalk with a vertical concrete curb and street parking along the curb. Going to the next slide is Victory Road. It is, again, about a 5-foot asphalt sidewalk with an asphalt berm for the curb. There are 2 driveway connections on Victory Road as well, which are proposed to be closed. One of them being just west of the existing Honda sign, and then one closer to Freeport Street. This plan just shows overall the proposed project as well as the improvements in the city right-of-way. As you can see within the site, we have significant increase in green space. And then within the Freeport Street right-of-way along the sidewalk, if I just zoom in, we are proposing to increase the 5-foot asphalt sidewalk to 8 feet total. That will include a 3-foot furnishing zone and a 5-foot concrete sidewalk. Within that furnishing zone, there will be proposed streetlights, and there's an existing hydrant that will be reset, and we will have vertical granite curbing along that. On both Freeport and Victory, we are still coordinating the final design within the furnishing zone, and we hope to have that resolved by the next hearing. Moving to Victory, we have a similar cross-section. We have a 3-foot furnishing zone with permeable pavers. I think I forgot to mention that on Freeport Street, but it will be permeable pavers. And then 6.5-foot concrete sidewalk. And again, we'll have streetlights within the furnishing zone. In addition, at the intersection of Victory and Freeport, we will reconstruct the curb ramps to make them compliant and perpendicular. And we are proposing a reciprocal compliant curb ramp across Freeport Street. And we are tying into the existing, or we're connecting proposed crosswalks to the existing reciprocal ramps across Victory Road. During construction, if they're found to be non-compliant, the contractor will rebuild them to come into compliance. And then just lastly, I just wanted to show our proposed planting plan. The sidewalks on this plan are a little outdated. This is what we submitted originally to the public agencies and the utility companies for their comment. So our design has evolved over time to what we just saw on the previous slide. But this gives a general idea of what we propose to install for plantings. We have some trees along Victory and Morrissey, as well as some low shrubs. And then on the corner of Victory Road and Freeport and Victory Road and Morrissey, we're proposing pocket parks for the pedestrian experience. It'll include permeable pavers, shrubs, some trees, as well as a couple benches. And with that, I'd like to open up to any questions or comments.
Thank you, Tyler. My first question is, now there is a Honda dealership there right now, right? There's a building.
Correct.
So is that building going to come down and something else going up there? Basically, Tyler, what I'm trying to get at is, will you be needing any further utility connections to support whatever is going on within this property site? And if those utilities are going to get tapped off the utilities that are either on Victory Road or Freeport Street, I'm going to assume it is not coming off Morrissey.
Yes, so the existing building will be demolished, and so the existing building is centralized in the site, and that'll be demolished. We're proposing a new 4-story Honda dealership building, and drainage connection drainage, water, gas, that'll all come off of Freeport Street, and we are tying in our sewer to Victory Road.
And Tyler, the reason I'm bringing this thing up, and I don't have my minutes from the Article 80 review process which we all went through, because Freeport Street, as you may know, it is serving a dual purpose for the city in terms of just getting this back street traffic to the dealerships, but there's bicycle connections which the city is looking at. So what I don't know, Tyler, is by the time you are making all those connections to Freeport Street, a street that is challenged looking today might get even more interesting in the most nicest way. Okay, and with the amazing the Herb Chambers Company, it has a certain stature with the city, and it'll be a little bit awkward if the street behind this amazing project looks like a street that is not very complimentary of it. So it's just a very gentle way for me to see whether you all can do what needs to happen on the backside of it, because Freeport Street is in need of attention, and by the time you all are through, it will really need some attention. So I'm just putting it out there. If you could speak to your clients and see what is it that they can do to make the surface of Freeport Street look a bit better than what it is looking today. And after you are done with your construction vehicles and the utility cars, it's going to look even less pleasant, if I'm making any sense to you. And Todd, if you could help these fine people to coordinate with Stephanie Sesking to see whether there's some common ground which we can all achieve. I'm not trying to ask additional responsibilities, it's just that you all do good work, and if things can be complementary to each other, it's a win-win for all.
Sure, and just as a bit of context, this Victoria Freeport intersection is the same intersection which this commission recently approved improvements for by DCR. Last year, DCR came through and as part of their bike trail network improvements, they're redoing part of this intersection. Those plans have been shared with this project team, and this project team's design is complementary of those improvements that DCR is conducting. So everybody's aware of everybody and what's going on here, and we're doing our best to make sure all of those designs are coordinated.
Thank you, Todd. So Tyler, so recognizing that the coordination is there, my little ask is your client, that's a very silly way of saying it, the project proponent, please take a look at how Freeport Street looks today and play that mind game as to how it's going to look after the construction is all done. And then it may not be very complimentary to the good work which your client is doing throughout the greater Boston area. Okay?
Understood, thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Any questions or comments to Mr. King by members of today? I'm sorry, my fellow commission members? Hearing none. Todd, you're okay with things on this end? And
yeah, they're still coordinating with Parks and Public Works Green Infrastructure on what exactly these furnishing zones are going to look like, but they'll have an update before their public hearing.
Awesome. Do we need a maintenance agreement from the project team? Yes.
Yes. Yep. So, yeah, and they've been in touch with Chung.
Awesome. All right. Any questions or comments by members of today's audience regarding the new business? Seeing or hearing none, we will mark you up for 2 weeks, which should take us to May 25th. Is that correct? Awesome.
Thank you, Chair.
Mr. King, we will see you in 2 weeks. Second and last item on the new business agenda, 80 East Berkeley Street, Washington Street, Sherman Ave, Boston proper pedestrian easement specific repairs projection license on a set of petitions by the Drucker 80 EB LLC. Good morning.
Good morning, Para and commissioners. Thank you for having us today. My name is Barbara Boylan. I represent Drucker 80 EB LLC, a joint venture, and the Drucker Company is the managing partner for this project at 80 East Berkeley Street. Thank you for your time today. Some of you may remember this project. 80 East Berkeley originally received all its BPDA Article 80 and other related approvals in 2013, 2014. Since that time, we filed a notice of project change in 2022 for time lapse and for the already allowable use of lab, office, life science. So this rendering depicted by our team, which includes Elkis Manfredi Architects and Mikyoung Kim landscape designers and Niche Engineering, is a project that has a 10-story life science office space with a ground floor of retail and affordable space. And it's located on 80 East Berkeley between Shawmut and Washington Street. So I'd like to introduce our team today that will speak to the specific repairs and the improvements. I do want to note that we've had an extensive public process with the community. We always meet with the neighborhood groups, East Berkeley Neighborhood Association, South End Business Alliance, Washington Gateway Main Streets, Project Place, Castle Square, and Friends of Peters Park and the Community Gardens, all the people in the South End, as well as the big public meetings with the BPDA over the past year. So the community is on board for the public realm improvements and would like to see the project move forward. So I'll turn it to John Schmidt from Niche Engineering. I also should mention David Linhart is on the meeting today from Goulston and Stores. And I apologize, I don't have a camera, so I'm sorry about that. Next time I'll come in person.
Thank you, Barbara. Having known you for more than a couple of days, it's good to hear your voice.
Thank you, Para. Thank you. Same.
Thank you, Barbara. John Schmidt with Niche Engineering. We're actually before you for three applications. One is specific repairs that I'll speak to, and then we'll roll into a pedestrian easement. And finally, the canopy projections. Along East Berkeley Street, we are designing the street to be compliant with the Complete Street guidelines. We have an 8-foot wide concrete sidewalk. We have some pervious pavers along the building face, and then we have a 7-foot wide frontage zone that consists of pervious pavers, street trees, and planter boxes. And then we also have a drop-off area in front, a drop-off zone in front of the building, as the drawing indicates. I'd also like to touch upon the crosswalk that we're showing on Shawmut Street, south of East Berkeley Street. Now, this has been drafted on, but it's not designed. This is at the request of William Moose. And we are still investigating the feasibility of doing this, so I don't want to misrepresent the process to the board that this is a guarantee. We are working on this, and when we come back for the public hearing, we hope to have a definitive design before you showing that this is feasible. But as of today, I can show you what our intent is, but I cannot commit that this is something that will be constructed. Next screen. On Shawmut Ave, we have an 8-foot wide concrete sidewalk, a 5-foot wide pedestrian zone, landscape pedestrian zone with pervious pavers. We have 4 street trees, and then we have 2 street lights and bike racks. I'd also like to note that we're in the process. We have a public hearing scheduled with the tree department for a tree removal hearing scheduled for June 1st. This development requires the removal of 3 existing street trees on Shawmut Ave, and we're replacing those street trees with 4 new trees. And then along East Berkeley, along Washington Street, we have 4 new trees. We have an 8-foot wide concrete sidewalk, and we have 6-foot pervious pavers as well. And we have also in the process of confirming that the reciprocal ramp on Washington Street is compliant. For pedestrian easements, in order to provide the public realm that is in the best interest of the community, we have a pedestrian easement proposed on East Berkeley Street, which is approximately 4 feet wide. And then we have a pedestrian easement on Shawmut Ave that is approximately 2 feet wide. And then finally, we have the canopy license, which is a series of 6 canopies along Washington Street. They're made of steel and glass. They will be heat traced and internally drained. They are greater than 10 feet above grade, and they project less than 2/3 into the public way. Any questions?
John, so today is May 11th, and normally when we hear a petition of this nature, we would schedule this thing for the next available hearing, which would be on May 25th. However, with your tree hearing scheduled for June 1st, I think it would be premature on this Public Improvement Commission's part to schedule a hearing subjected to a future tree hearing. So if
Yes, I completely respect and understand that, and that has been the city's policy for a very long time. And Barbara, please add to this commentary.
Sure. Para, I was wondering if there is, with the commissioner's approval, and if we could proceed to the public hearing. We've been in touch since the last hearing, April 25th, when we became aware that we had to be in a tree warden. We've been in contact directly with Max Ford Diamond. He has gone out to see the trees already. We have a removal plan that we have talked to him about. We're sending it again today. It shows the improvements to 4 new trees on Shawmut. The difficulty with this one, Para, is timing. The parks or the tree warden hearings are only once a month. And I was wondering if there's a mechanism to advance to May, the next PIC, for review with the condition of approval of the tree warden public hearing on June 1st. I don't know if that's possible or not, but we're in daily contact with the tree warden and acknowledge we will be on the June 1st public hearing.
So as much as we want to help these amazing projects come to fruition, it would be, in my opinion, been here for a couple of days, to not pre-position another hearing based on one hearing. That would not be the appropriate administrative processes for us to use. It is also possible that there may be concerns by a totality of people. So Barbara, as much as I would like to give consideration to your request, and with the city's heightened awareness and sensitivity towards the issue of trees and very mature trees in the city, I think we might be out of step. And like when I say out of step, like severely out of step for the PIC to take any action on the 25th that is contingent upon a tree hearing, simply because of the nature of the hearings. And all it's going to do, Barbara, is, the next hearing is June 15th, and that is my learned guidance, still recognizing the utter amazing projects which the Drucker team does, and the whole project team. Okay, so we appreciate that part, but I feel very uncomfortable positioning another independent body's public process, and that whole subject matter has been elevated to the highest levels within the city, and that topic being the tree canopies and the survivability of the trees. So,
sure. I acknowledge that, and I appreciate your response. Is this an action then that could be on June 15th hearing?
Absolutely. We can schedule all of this stuff, all your 3 petitions, the pedestrian easement, specific repairs, projection license, all as presently proposed for the June 15th hearing, with the caveat that if any changes are to be made on the specific repairs plans, hopefully between June 1st and June 15th, you can make those changes, or John will be working overtime. But John's quite capable of doing that thing.
I know. Thank you, Mara.
Mara, could I ask for this consideration? Because a lot of this is what's driving this is the code change on July 1st and getting building permits filed prior to that. This building is bounded by public streets, so I don't necessarily believe, and if the attorney's on board to speak to this, we need specific repair approval for filing of the building permit because it is bounded by public streets and public access. But I do think we may need approval for the canopy licenses because that is part of the building. Would the commission consider hosting a public hearing for the canopy license on the 25th of May, so we could do that, close that out, and then we could have the public hearing for the specific repairs on June 15th?
Sensible, oh God, why do I use words like sensible? Meaningful question by your part, John. I just need a little bit guidance from Todd. Todd, does that complicate things in terms of how the project can be viewed by external parties? And John, here's my you know how people are so clever at picking up 2 words from a 10-word sentence I make, and then they misconstrue things. I think we are really good at that stuff, and I'm just deadly afraid of how it can complicate things.
Yeah, I don't want to put anyone in City Hall, in your office, in an uncomfortable position. I would just ask for that consideration.
Yeah, I think, Miss Boylan, sorry, Barbara, I need your help on this front. Unless there is a reason that where the Earth is going to stop rotating, the more comfortable, clean thing would be for this whole petition, all 3 aspects of the petition be heard on June 15th, so there is nothing lost in the translation as to the action that is to be taken by the PIC, unless you are telling me that your whole financing is all going to fall apart because the canopy license doesn't get approved by May 25th.
Thanks so much for talking.
Hi, David. Good to see you.
Hi, good to see you. Good to see you. We appreciate that you're allowing us to have this conversation. And I might just add a few more words if you allow us to do that. And then, of course, respectfully, we appreciate where you come down on this. But it might be worth considering that, all approvals generally are subject to the proponent being able to achieve all other approvals that are needed. Like when we, as a project, received BPDA approval, there's certain public realm changes or improvements that we're expecting, and it's understood that's subject to obtaining any other necessary approvals, and that maybe that's an avenue here. Maybe that's what is approved. Or at least what comes forward for a public hearing, wherever we end, at the next scheduled PIC meeting, it could be understood that that approval, of course, would be subject to achieving other approvals, such as successful tree warden hearing. So that might be an avenue to move forward. Of course, I've been at public hearings where there were reasons to extend that another 2 weeks. We could schedule, see if we're all comfortable, and then otherwise still have the option to move another 2 weeks forward. So being able to come back in 2 weeks would be meaningful. I just thought I'd at least put that out there as we're talking about it. Thank you.
No, David, I truly appreciate the thought patterns which you are sharing on this same conversation. So it's a value judgment which we are taking right now, where the 3 hearings, but assuming it can go alpha or bravo, yay or nay, and one of those things will impact the specific repair plans. Okay, so the way I'm seeing it, we somehow brought you all under new business with this issue still out there hanging. My preference over the last 25 years is to make sure that everything is nice and clean so we can go through PIC. So here we got this scheduling issue. Otherwise, Mr. Liming's guidance to me would have been, this would have been even come to new business. So I think considering the importance of tree issues and the feedback that we are getting from our sister agencies, David, I think the best thing is for us to schedule the public hearing for the 15th, where it gives you time to adjust the plans if they are needed. Otherwise, I will be opening a hearing on the 25th of May on issues where we know today that your tree hearings are on June 1st. So I've seen it both ways, weighing risks, and my thought patterns are that I will still seek the guidance of fellow commission members if they have something to say. Hearing none, thoughts, comments by my learned chief engineer from the PIC Commission, Mr. Liming?
Yeah, I'll say my preference is always to keep all action items together. It's a lot cleaner. I think the other big kind of hurdle here would be trying to pull a sidewalk deposit permit from Public Works without approval of the specific repair plan is darn near impossible. And that sidewalk deposit permit is something that ISD would certainly be looking for when they're considering issuing a building permit. So I think having that, trail behind maybe wouldn't be the easiest thing to do. I think bringing everything back on June 15th probably makes the most sense in my own opinion.
And thank you both, Para, Todd, and the commissioners, and for listening to us. I appreciate that, and I do understand. I don't want to unnecessarily burden anyone. It sounds cleaner, and Para, with your experience, you know how this process works best. So I respect that, and thank you, and we'll look to be on the June 15th PIC, and we'll continue to work with you and your department and the tree warden so that you're all up to speed on exactly what's happening on June 1st.
Yes, thank you, Barbara. Again, if your team can expend all the necessary energies to focus on the tree hearing so that its impacts on the paperwork which you have submitted to us is as least impactful as possible, and should it need to change, to make those changes so that it doesn't confuse what we will be advertising. Todd, did I say that? I know I said that thing. Is there anything else that needs to be amplified to that point? Okay, rather than laboring the point more, you all, and when I say you all, that's not a polite way of saying it, the petitioners, the Drucker companies, you all do amazing projects, okay, in the city. There's a legacy there, and the project team is, it's a great team. So we want to help you to get there in the cleanest, fastest way that makes sense with all these little dangling participles.
Thank you, Para. Very much appreciate that.
Thank you. So that all being said, we will mark this thing up for the public hearing that is going to come up on June 15th, and wish you all the absolute best in a very successful tree hearing that minimizes any impacts to the paperwork which you have already submitted. Okay?
Thank you so much. I appreciate
Awesome. Thank you. So that concludes the business of today. So I'd like to hear a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. You all have a very safe and nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.